Hey guys, so what I'm about to say, I'm actually surprised that it even needs to be said, but clearly folks have forgotten about it or just don't know it. The people who accuse the Jews of being colonizers and occupiers in the land of Israel, in so-called Palestine, they accuse others of being who they are. My friends, the indigenous people of North Africa are the Berbers and the Copts. The indigenous people of Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, and Algeria are the Berbers, different tribes of Berbers and Amazigh. The indigenous people of Egypt are the Copts, Coptic Christians, ethnically Copts. The indigenous peoples of Lebanon are Maronites, Christians. The indigenous peoples of Syria are Kurds. The indigenous peoples of Iraq are Kurds and Yazidis and Assyrians, and also Assyrians are the indigenous people of Syria. The indigenous people of Jordan, or what today is Transjordan, are Jews. The indigenous peoples of the land of Israel are Jews. My friends, the Arabs came to all of those countries from the Arabian Peninsula, which they are the indigenous peoples of, and only the Arabian Peninsula, and they conquered North Africa, and they conquered Lebanon, and they conquered Syria, and they conquered Iraq, what today is Iraq. They even conquered, by way of just bringing religion there, what today is known as Iran. The only thing is, the Persians would not be physically conquered. They kept their country, but they took on Islam, my friends. Just 1 second. And so, essentially, my friends, what we have here is a case of mistaken identity. It's a case of imposters. Who are the imposters? Muslims, Arabs. Then they come and say, my friends, that we came and we took their land by force in 1948. My friends, again, I don't know why I should be saying this, why it's necessary to say this, but apparently it is. The Jews, mainly religious Jews, came back to what today is what is the land of Israel. Before there was ever a state, they came back in the 1800s. They started building up the country physically. You know, the cities of Petah Tikva, Rishon LeZion, Rosh Pina, later on Tel Aviv, areas around Jerusalem, Jerusalem Forest, etc., etc. Eventually, my friends, I'm just, I'm skipping ahead. I'm shortening the story. We kicked the British out in 1948, finally. And then our Arab neighbors went to war with us. They were offered peace. They were offered coexistence. They said no many times. They went to war with us. By the way, my friends, guess who went to war with us? It wasn't just the Palestinians. It was those colonizers from Iraq and from Syria and from Lebanon and from Jordan and from Saudi Arabia. I guess the indigenous guys. And some from North Africa as well, and from Egypt. My friends, they did this again in 1967. From Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt. And some Saudi and some Iraq. They did it again in 73, same countries. And a bunch of North African colonizers. Not Berbers, not Yazidis, not the Kurds. My friends. Oh, I forgot about the Druze who are indigenous to this area too. But they didn't attack us. They never did. They were on our side. My friends, at some point they realized all of these Arab nation states that were colonized by Arabs, where the Arabs are not indigenous, realized that they're not going to defeat us face to face, hand to hand. So, what do they figure out? Let's use these gypsies, that they call them that, my friends. These are their words, not mine. Right? The ones who actually live in Israel, or what we're going to call Palestine, as our battering ram. And they've been using these people as their battering ram, as cannon fodder, for the last, almost 70 years, my friends. 60, at least 60 years. That's what they've been doing, my friends. Why do you think that neither Egypt nor Jordan, nor Syria nor Lebanon will take in any of even one Palestinian coming from Gaza or any other places, refugees? My friends, because they're a nice weapon. Because again, Egypt and Jordan and all these other armies cannot defeat Israel in a direct war, in a direct conflict. So they're thinking maybe Hezbollah can, maybe Hamas can, maybe these like religious fanatics, so to speak, can, right? We're just going to use them. Iran is going to fund them. We're going to let Iran fund them. The Persians, the Shiites, the Shiite dogs will fund them, and and then once we're done with the Jews, then we'll fight. We'll hash it out amongst each other. But when we're not fighting the Jews, we'll fight each other, right? As we've seen. My friends, what I just said to you the last almost 7 minutes, I don't really understand why. I'm shocked that I even have to say this, that I even have to remind you. But we just had, this whole Nakba day. My friends, the Nakba, all it is just they tried to kill us and they failed. And it's a tragedy. They were embarrassed. That's the embarrassment. That's the busha for them. That's the, the shame. Not the fact that they got kicked out, the fact that they didn't kill us. My friends, they were there for years, right? They never tried this against the Ottomans. Why would they? They're their Muslim brothers, right? But you can't have the Jews there. Descendants of the apes and the pigs. And so, my friends, we will finish these entities, Hamas, Hezbollah, and this long con game is about to be over. These people will not be able to convince the world anymore, even though some of the world wants to be convinced because they hate us so much, they hate the Jews so much. They will cease to be convinced that these people are the indigenous peoples of that area, and they're the downtrodden and the poor and the downtrodden and all the rest of it. My friends, they are the conquerors. They are the colonizers of North Africa, of the Levant, of the Middle East, okay? And the only place that they are indigenous to is the Arabian Peninsula. My friends, why do you think that Trump went to those specific countries to make deals? Physically, why he went there? Because that's where you go. That's where their headquarters is. Their headquarters, HQ, is in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE. It's not in Jordan. It's not in Syria, even though he released sanctions on Syria because, yes, Syria is an integral part of this whole plan, right? And it also, by the way, used to be part of the head of the caliphate. That's where the seat of the caliphate was, in Damascus, at one point. But my friends, the headquarters is Saudi Arabia. That is their indigenous place. Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, UAE, what is known today as just the different tribal nation states. But everywhere else, my friends, the pot is calling the kettle black. They are the colonizers. They are the occupiers of all of North Africa, of Lebanon, of Syria, of Iraq. We came home. The only ones who came home, the only indigenous people who not only came home but who managed to take their country back are the Jews. And it's infuriating everybody. And you know what, guys? That makes me very happy. Talk to you soon.